Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics. This week's questions answered video, what gloves do I use? This is a pretty easy question. Most of the time I do not use gloves. Throughout my entire career, law enforcement, military, and then into teaching obviously. I use gloves when I absolutely have to, which is pretty rare. If it's cold, then obviously that's a concern. If your hands are going to be out exposed to the elements, you want to use a glove then. But I do not like shooting with gloves. I do not like interacting with objects with gloves. I just generally hate gloves. The gloves that I do use when I absolutely have to, the PIG, Patrol Incident Gear gloves from SKD Tactical, they're lightweight ones, are really, really awesome. They're not the most durable glove in the world, but they're not designed for extreme hard use. And usually the gloves designed for extreme hard use, like the Ringers gloves that I was issued in the Army, you can't really do much with them. If I can't pick up a quarter off of a flat surface, then that glove just doesn't have the dexterity that I'm looking for. And the reason I forego gloves is an accepted risk. I understand that I might get little cuts and whatnot, but I maintain my full dexterity, my full finger range of motion, and I can actually feel things. Even as a cop, when I was going to search a suspect, one, I'd have them search themselves, and then I would follow up behind them wearing, just some exam gloves, rhinos or scorpions or whatever, those really thick gloves. They do take away a little bit of your tactile sense of feel, but they still give you your range of motion, your dexterity. So I've just never been a real big glove fan. If I was going to deal with glass or something like that, I'd wear a thicker glove for that, but usually only on my raking hand if I was going to be doing a glass rake or something like that. There's nothing wrong with gloves. If you can shoot with them, that's great. If you can interact with the environment with them, that's great. But I just don't see them as you must use this because. I see students come to classes, rifle classes, technique classes with gloves, and they just kind of fiddle fuck around because they're not used to wearing them, and they don't practice them. So if you're gonna use gloves as part of your kit, you need to really use them as opposed to just taking them to classes. A lot of things, just gloves included, you can practice with them before you ever come to a class. So when you're in a class and you're like, oh, I should be wearing gloves, and you're wearing them, and you're falling behind or you're having difficulty performing the task at hand because you're just not used to working in gloves. So if you're going to use gloves, get proficient with them before you take them somewhere to learn so you can pay 100% attention to what's actually occurring versus trying to figure out how to do things while wearing gloves and meeting whatever standard has been set forth. A lot of great gloves out there, but specifically to the question, if I have to use gloves at all, I'm going to use the SKD, the PIGs. I've tried a bunch of other different gloves. Velocity Systems, their really lightweight glove is really good, but it doesn't hold up for very long. So it's not something I would use in even moderately friction-laden environments. If I was going to be interacting with anything other than a weapon system, rifle or handgun or whatever, it's not something I would go with. That's about it. If you have any questions you'd like to see answered in a questions answered video, you can drop them in the comment section below. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Trade accordingly.